What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. Sorry for the late start. We had a little technical difficulty, microphones, broadcasting live from my restaurant, Della in Brooklyn, Windsor Terrace. Whoop, whoop. The station is closed this week and next week, so we're doing some pop-ups because they're fun, they're challenging. You find out all the things that work and that don't work. The audio being one of those things today. But it's always a gas kitten. With that, I would like to introduce my guest today, Miss Sarina Rao. Sarina Rao.
Hello.
Allora.
Hello.
Say hi to Alessandra. She said hi to
how
you.
are you?
I don't know if she's listening or not, but that was just really great when she was like, I said, "Oh, Sarina's watching."
She was
she
awesome.
said, "Hello, Sarina."
I heard that. It was awesome.
So Sarina's here, in part. Well, we're good friends. I like you. That's one of the reasons why you're here.
That's nice.
But I think there's a lot of similarities between Alessandra and Sarina. They both are involved in careers surrounding music and spirituality. Very interesting subset and genre of music, of which...
Although I can't dance or play an instrument. So
You could probably dance. I've seen your footwork.
I'm not so sure about that.
She's modest. So Sarina and I, we basically got to know each other through jiu-jitsu.
That's correct.
Sarina and I are both purple belts, both training partners. Don't let her size fool you. She's deadly. So I've seen her move. She got the moves like Jagger, for sure. So we got to know each other over the last 4 or so years.
3 years, yeah.
3 years.
It's been 3 years for me.
And then our kids went to the same school. We also live in the same community, so we got to know each other that way. And I enjoy training with you. I don't know. By your facial expression, sometimes I'm not sure you.
That's because just sometimes I'm just not sure what's going on.
What just happened?
It's not a reflection on you. It's on me.
Yeah. We've created a relationship, a friendship, and often the relationships you create in a bond like jiu-jitsu,
Yes.
they run pretty deep. So we become good buddies. I let her choke me out from time to time. I try to be generous sometimes. But, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Sarina, to start while I fix this stuff.
Outside of all that, the jiu-jitsu that defines me, I moved to Windsor Terrace 7 years ago. I just counted. I had just made a huge career change. I left my work in the garment center, which I had worked in fashion as a designer for many years, and I had sort of started to hate it, and I just took a leap of faith and I left. And
how long had you done that for?
I had done that for 24 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's what I came to this country to do. It's what I thought I was going to do forever. I had worked for a long time, and it took a long time to even understand that I was sort of starting to hate it, and I didn't want to do it anymore.
The garment industry.
Yeah, to be in at the time I thought to be in fashion altogether. I think now I would say to you, I just didn't want to work in the garment industry anymore.
Right. Because you still do things pertaining to fashion.
Yeah, but I resisted it for a long time. I mean, that's sort of part of the, I don't think I'd be able to do the painting that I do had I not taken that other job in my regular job where I work for the musician. And I think, there's a lot of stuff that happens when you worked for a long time. I had been making a lot of money, and I honestly, after so many years, didn't feel like I had any other skill set, that I didn't know how to do anything else. And maybe you do have to sort of really hit rock bottom and really just be unhappy before you sort of, or at least for me, I had this sort of heart opening, or maybe somebody would call it like a spiritual awakening or something like that, where I was just like, there's got to be something else. I can't live like this anymore. Mm-hmm. And so,
And did you also own an organic food
at the time
market?
when
Was
I
that
was married.
before
That
or
was
after?
before. Well, it was sort of during, because it was at the time my husband's thing. It was earlier on in our marriage. So in the 24 years of my garment center career, it was in the first portion of that.
So
Yes, it
tell
was
us
a
about
brick and mortar.
Yeah, go ahead.
We opened it with a partner and his wife, and it was sunk all of our money into it. It was a tough breakup when we had to let go of it.
Where was it at?
It was in the East Village on 3rd Avenue and 9th Street.
And what years was this?
Many years ago, 20 years ago.
I didn't ask you how old you were.
30 years ago. 30
years ago
Yeah,
in the
about
East
30 years
Village, an organic market.
Yeah, it was a new idea. It
Sure,
was
sure.
novel.
That was
could
when it
have
was
been-
first starting to take
Yeah.
over in the U.S.
Yeah,
And how many years did you have it for?
I think it was 4 years.
And so you had that while you were also working in the garment district.
Yeah, it was really my husband at the time. It was
Right.
really his thing. I mean, I didn't
But
do
you
that
were-
much of the work, but it was definitely part of our lives, and it was a lot.
It's funny, that's like on the forum, like you might be an entrepreneur if you have a job and you also open a business. You just might be. You
might just be really stressed out.
Or
which
well,
is what I
that
was.
comes with
Yeah.
it. A little crazy.
Yeah,
too.
it was hard. It was hard.
Nice, and you were young. You were just a baby.
Yes.
And then, so you were born in India?
No, I was born in Australia.
You were born in Australia.
I was born in Australia.
And did you live in London too?
No,
Did I hear you say that?
No, my father worked for the airlines when we were growing up,
Okay.
so we traveled a lot. I was born in Australia. I lived in India. I lived in Canada.
I never knew that about you. I love it on the show because you find out things
All these
about
things.
like.
I feel a little bit like I'm sort of faking it because I was born in Australia. I lived there for 7
Faking
months
it.
of my life. It just sounds good to say, so I tell people. That,
You gotta practice the accent.
I just have no. I'm not really connected. I just really did live there.
I've seen this jujitsu meme, and it's like this guy, and he's all banged up. His face is all mashed up from training, and he's like in his office talking to one of his coworkers. And he's talking about this guy that he trains with and how they're best friends and they have this great relationship. And he's like, "What's the guy's name?" He's like, "I don't know."
No.
Like you just,
Yes.
It creates. I was saying earlier, it creates these relationships, and
Yeah.
you didn't.
Jiu-jitsu is amazing.
So
yes.
you're Australian. So you're
I am
Aborigine.
Austrian,
Is that?
yes, yes.
Are you good with the
No,
boomerang?
I just finished saying that I left when I was 7 months old.
I thought they taught him early.
Nope.
Then.
Not that
Awesome.
early.
Cool. So fashion, food, martial arts. How the fuck did you end up working in the music industry?
So I think, sometimes when you take a leap of faith, you don't exactly know. That's the point of it. You don't know
Right.
where you're going to land. And I packed up my kids and I moved here to Windsor Terrace, and I was looking for work because I still didn't know that I could do anything else. I still was thinking maybe there's a different type of job I can get. Maybe there's something that I can I still look good on a resume for this particular person. And I went on a bunch of interviews, and every time I had to fight this like sinking feeling in
Right.
the pit of my stomach that I just didn't want to do this. But I'll say, when you try and make a change in the middle of your life, I was in my mid-40s. I had 2 children. Those
Again,
considerations.
I didn't ask you how old you were.
No, okay. Well, I'm telling you because it's relevant. It's not easy to make a change in the middle of your life, and I feel like sometimes I feel upset when I hear, you don't make any excuses and just go for it. If you want to do something, you gotta. Those considerations are real. I had 2 children. There was no couch surfing
Right,
happening for me.
right.
I had to land someplace where everyone could be okay, and so I kept looking for that work that I thought was going to get me that big salary and was somehow going to make it just a little bit better. And in the meantime, my sister Nina, that lives in the neighborhood, she was the manager for this musician. Now, I think it's relevant that she's also a musician, but they sing devotional music. So the people
But not like Billy Graham devotional music.
Well, I mean, it's from the Hindu tradition in
Right.
India. There's
I just
a thing
wanted to
called
distinguish
kirtan.
that.
Yeah, kirtan.
It's
which is
not
call and
holy
response.
rollers.
Yeah, call and response. It's a beautiful community to be in and surrounded by people who are on a spiritual path, or just basically everyone looking for sort of a better way to live, to be happy, to be content. And it was wonderful to be part of that, and to have their voices around me all the time was also very beautiful.
Going through that transition.
Volunteered to help them.
Yeah.
I volunteered because I, again, didn't believe I had any skill set to actually legitimately work there, nor were they hiring at the time. And I'd say it was one of the best things I ever did. I gave myself to it. I didn't have a lot of worry about whether I was going to be worthy or any of that kind of, all that mental stuff that happens sometimes. And I just did what they needed me to do. And it was a great experience. And as I sort of eased into it, one thing led to another. And then they asked me if I wanted to have a job. And I was overjoyed. I let go of the idea of, making a big salary and all of that stuff, because I could just feel that there was actually happiness on this other end over here,
and this was
I hadn't felt for a long
like
time.
right after like the economic meltdown too,
right? All around me, every single person I knew was getting laid off except for me. That's what I wanted. I kept thinking, well, I was glad that it wasn't me, but at the same time I was like, well, and then finally I did get this great job. It was actually one of the best jobs I had in the garment center, and it was a new division of an older company, and they closed the entire division down. And that is what sort of was the catalyst for me to say, okay, this is my out, and I'm going to take it. And so I didn't really know where any of it would go. I counted the other day, it's 6 years now that I've been working with them. I still sometimes say, 3 years ago, and time has just gone by, and it's been amazing. I had to learn everything. I didn't know anything about being in the music business. I work on the back end, so I do things like registering tracks and things like that, and putting albums together. I'm not a musician. I sing in the shower. Nobody's interested in hearing me otherwise, and so it was great, to be able to learn something at this stage in my life, and I get to work from home. All of those things were a really good. It made taking the pay cut less and less of a big deal. And it was,
I hear that as a consistent theme from a lot of business leaders these days. Not all of them, clearly, because there's some of them that are like, you got to get that money.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, in particular the ones that I gravitate towards, discuss, think of being happy.
A balance.
Yeah, don't worry about the extra zero in your bank account, because you can't take it with you when you go. Right. And like when you're old and you're sitting back and you're looking at your life, are you going to care about that zero or about how you lived? Yeah. So I usually start every show with a quote of the day. Okay. And then we dance. Okay. No, I'm kidding.
You dance.
I just want to see you dance. And because things just kind of started a little rocky because of the tech aspects, but I also wanted to like kind of slide this in at a certain point, because I usually quote like Tony Robbins or Simon Sinek or somebody like that, but today I'm quoting you.
What do you mean?
So we did a focus group, which was also kind of inspired by you.
Oh, okay.
In this very room where we're sitting, different orientation, but same room. Yes. Where we just brought together a number of people from different backgrounds. So real estate agent, Sarina, a coffee broker, and a gentleman that owns an online tutoring company, and just chewed the fat about outreach, representation, a little social media, a little social branding, but just like who are you, what are you, business identification, competition, things like that. And I find that anytime we have one of these little meetings, or there's a broadcast, a show, there's always a little gem. There's like a 5-second gem, and Sarina offered it that night. And it has to do with what you said, directly pertaining to what you said about how you got involved with your current situation. And I don't know if you remember saying this, but you said you can only be of service if you were delivering something of value. Otherwise, you're not serving anybody.